Yes, so hello everyone. Today is Wednesday, June 28th, and it's a bi-weekly meeting for SIG OpenStack. Unfortunately, Steve is not able to join us today because of the conflicting meeting, so I am running this meeting today for you. We don't have so many items today to discuss. Let me share my screen now with our meeting agenda. I hope you can see my screen. Yeah, so we have several PRs and issues that Steve has been sharing in an email thread to Kubernetes SIG OpenStack. So anybody here has any questions regarding them, or we may go through them and take a look. Okay, so let me open them. Well, we have 3 issues for the last period of time with SIG OpenStack label. All of them are unassigned to anybody, so if someone has any ideas regarding them, it would be great. So the first one is related to OpenStack LBS version 2. Anybody here may have any suggestions on this item? No suggestions, so we'll proceed with this item offline. Swift Object Store. There are also no updates, and anybody here has anything to share on this item? Fine, so let's go to the next one.
You guys hear me okay?
Hmm?
I was just asking what was the OpenStack one trying to do? OpenStack Swift, I mean. What's the purpose?
What's the purpose of what?
Of this change or this issue?
So on this Swift issue, it looks like the container is hard coded, which that for and it, I mean not the container, the Swift object, and it's asking for that to be parameterizable. That should be a pretty easy pull request to handle. I mean, pretty easy to handle.
Is that a Kubernetes thing or is that a container thing in the Swift? What is the issue here? Is the issue in Kubernetes or in the Swift container? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Anyone know?
It seems to be one for, it's probably for Kubernetes provider here.
Okay, let me, I'll take a look at that. This is Luis from CoreOS.
Yeah, please take a look. Just briefly reviewing, I could notice that it can be related to Kubernetes OpenStack hit installer with kebab scripts. So probably these parameters that, and also from an issue also has questions regarding this provider. So probably we have to there. Yeah. We'll mention our SIG.
Yeah, could you hear me before? This is I think Zoom wasn't letting me talk.
You can hear you now.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, this should be fairly straightforward to handle in the provider.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's just adding a configuration option and removing a hard coding in the in how the provider is interacting with the Swift object store.
Okay.
You can put me on that then.
What is your GitHub ID?
It's LPABON. L and then,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's it. Yep.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the next is for OpenStack Cloud Provider. I don't see any details here, so just brief information. So it seems to be hard to debug what's happening. What's happening here. Any ideas for now? Okay, I'll go into SIG OpenStack box and let's review it later. Yet another updated issue with OpenStack label since last meeting. It seems to be an umbrella issue for multiple cloud providers, not only for OpenStack. Yeah, I suppose it would be the great item to discuss within their working group for cloud providers that it's going to be established soon, not only for OpenStack. Anybody has any suggestions regarding this item besides that?
Which item number is this again?
It's issue number
Okay.
42. It's mostly related to
Yeah.
cloud providers issues, not OpenStack only. And it's like more like general architecture questions.
Have there been any major developments since the last time we met, Igor?
Sorry?
It doesn't seem like there's been, other than, I think last time we discussed this, there was kind of in somewhat violent agreement. I don't see any major updates since then.
Yeah, right. I agree with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, there was some discussion on the mailing list about merging creating new, a more blanket cloud SIG or provider SIG, I guess cloud provider SIG that would kind of encompass the other ones. But last time I looked, the conversation stalled out a little bit. I think that a lot of people were like, "Oh, we should just more of a working group, and rather than a whole new SIG to handle this." So I'm not sure how to push either agenda forward. So I don't know if you have any ideas about that, Ihor.
Yeah, so there have been several discussions, right? And it hasn't been a great finally, but we have pre-agreed that working group format for the new for the cloud provider group would be the great one. So we will keep all existing C groups that are related to cloud providers, including OpenStack, AWS, Azure. Also, GCP, GCE group is going to be established. At the same time, we are going to organize a cloud provider working group that will handle all the umbrella issues that attach not only specific cloud provider, but all the cloud providers that we have supported in OpenStack. At the same time, it's only pre-agreement and no active steps here have been performed. I suppose that.
Ihor, what can I do to move that working group forward? Like, what would be the steps in the community to make that happen?
Let me follow up the mailing thread and what were the final words of it. I suppose we can reserve a slot at the community meeting and on Thursday and discuss that with the whole community and finalize it. At the same time, I suppose that most of people are not following this question because we are at the final stage of Kubernetes 1.7 release process. And after Kubernetes 1.7 will be released, so much more other questions not related to release itself will be handled.
Okay. I'd like to help out however I can with doing that. So maybe we can I don't know, sync offline about how to get that onto the community meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose it could be a good item for the next community meeting. And we will also may have a small quorum with representatives from other cloud SIGs and with Brian Grant, who was one of the persons who initiated this discussion. So we probably may have some final agreement on the format and the content and so on.
For some of the, I guess, architectural standards across cloud providers, do you think some of those concerns will be solved by the SIG architecture group?
Yeah, some of the major architecture questions have to be also solved by them, but I'm not sure that they will be aware as we are about the cloud provider structure and so on. So, I mean, I'm not speaking about awareness of the code base, but it's more about hands-on experience. At the same time, SIG architecture is also the great place to collaborate with us on these questions. So we may also ask SIG architecture to work jointly on initiating this working group.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree. So any other questions on this item or on working group for cloud providers? Okay. So we also have several pull requests here. Yeah, it's a pull request about Cloud Controller Manager. So, yeah, nobody has finally reviewed, and probably someone has been looking at this PR, and someone can review it, volunteer for reviewing. Okay. Yeah, several items that have been updated since our last meeting. It's mostly about SIG cluster lifecycle, I suppose. And SIG cluster lifecycle and SIG architecture and potential cloud working group for this. Also, I suppose I see that it has been labeled with 1.8, so no rush for now. If someone would like to review this, also feel free to do it. And OpenStack off provider. No updates here.
Yeah, I need to check in with DIMS too and see if how much the OpenStack branch of the provider has changed and what we could possibly pull back into these, because some of this work may have been done already too by the team that he's working with at Huawei.
Okay. I've mentioned you and DIMS here.
Yeah.
And also one potential candidate for OpenStack label. No candidates, all of them are closed. Okay. Yeah, new items that we have in agenda, we have already discussed them. So any other questions or suggestions on their issues or PRs? Anything else to discuss?
Just a quick question on the Swift one. What's the urgency on that? Is that for 1.7 or is that for 1.8?
This one?
No, 47966.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one
I
about
don't.
Swift? Is that
Yeah, right. It's about Swift. I don't see any urgency here.
Okay.
It seems to be like it's not related to any release at the moment, so it will be
Okay.
great sometime, but no rush for now.
Okay.
Okay, the different item that we have is about OpenStack Summit in Sydney. Call for papers is already open and it will close in a bit more than 2 weeks. So anything to discuss about this item right now? Probably anybody has any suggestions on the topic that we may highlight during OpenStack Summit regarding Kubernetes and OpenStack. Okay, so just a brief reminder for all of us. I know that most.
Yeah. You and I had talked a little bit about putting together another panel discussion, hadn't we?
Right.
Was that? Oh, yeah. I'm still available to do that if you want.
Okay. Perfect. So if anybody here also has any willingness to join us for OpenStack Summit with any ideas, probably we may establish something like a panel of OpenStack and Kubernetes contributors in different areas, or it can be just a reminder for you to submit your presentation for OpenStack Summit, and we'll be happy to see you in Sydney.
Eeyore, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, my name is Matt Dorn. It's the first time I've actually been in this meeting. Previously worked at Rackspace and worked on OpenStack documentation. And now working on Kubernetes. And I have a high-level question here, just to kind of get an understanding. So right now, we go on the road and we teach people how Kubernetes works, getting a lot of questions on what's actually the easiest way for someone to deploy Kubernetes on OpenStack. And right now, we're referring them to the official Kubernetes documentation, where I think they have you utilizing kubeup to do that. Do you all recommend that? I know there's a variety of ways to do this right now, but is referring them to the upstream documentation and having them run that kubeup script the easiest way to utilize the OpenStack provider in Kubernetes?
It is. So we're considering this as an official option. At the same time, kubeup scripts are going to be deprecated soon, and unfortunately, OpenStack Heat provider is also not actively maintained. It is maintained, but not so actively as we would like. So we have been discussing this question several meetings ago about finding the better way to finding the best and the most official way to deploy Kubernetes on top of OpenStack that will be completely maintained by both communities, by OpenStack and Kubernetes, with the general feedback from the community.
Yeah, we found that for sort of demonstration and getting started with OpenStack Kubernetes on OpenStack, the kubeup stuff works fairly well for most environments. We also happen to maintain the COPS tool, which is in the Kubernetes incubator repo, which is also works fairly well and it has a lot of different options that are a bit more customizable for production installs. I don't know of a better option than that right now, to be honest. It's
You should be aware that you're gonna get like several different answers depending on who you ask. It would be best for you to try each of them yourself and run through those and kind of form your own opinion because that's just an opinionated space for sure. Some people like BootKube, some people like KubeAdmin. There's COPS, which is good. You know, there's a lot of different options and a lot of different opinions out there. But the best way to kind of whittle that down is to try it yourself and and see how you like it. How
So
you like each of
just
them.
so I have an understanding, you're saying kubeadm and all these COPS and all of these, you can actually choose to use OpenStack as a provider. So with kubeadm, for example, you can choose to use OpenStack as a provider.
Yeah, I thought you could actually. I'll look at it again.
I'm still new to all the kind of the Kubernetes stuff. I just got hired by CoreWest last month, but
yeah,
I'll dive into it. I'll dive into it. I appreciate the input.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, I was wondering what the status of kubeadmin is. I know that it's upstream, and I've used it successfully for bare metal deployments. You know, but it seems to be perpetually in alpha. But you know, if there's an upstream way of doing it, and we can configure the OpenStack provider on it, it seems like for simplicity, just talking about from the point of view of you know, someone new shows up and they want to get up and running as quickly as possible. You know, I think that having an answer for them is a good idea.
Yeah. So if you look at the kubeadm, there's a sample master configuration. Cloud provider is one of the options in there. So look deeper into the flags that can be used. kubeadm is a great tool. I wouldn't say that it's like production ready. It's getting ever closer. But again, you know, kind of getting a feel for each of these and learning each one and feeling through each of their, you know, ticks and quirks and things like that is really the best advice that I can give you. But right now, I believe that with kubeadm, where it's at currently, you can jam a YAML config to configure the master. And that sample configuration is in there, and I can see that cloud provider is in there as well. So,
yeah, and I think we need to separate the difference between deploying onto OpenStack, using OpenStack APIs to create your virtual machines and set up your network and set up all your Cinder devices, right? That is one tool. And then, or if you have your own virtual machines that you set up yourself, you have them all set up with Cinder and everything, you have all the neutral network all set up, and then you go into one of them and you use kubeadm to set up the others, right?
sure.
That's a different model, right? So you have to think about which model do I want? Do I want I have nothing set up and I want the tool to take care of everything for me? Or I have my own machines in the way I want it and I want Kubernetes installed on those virtual machines?
Very true. Yep.
You have to decide which way to go. So I think that like COPS, it's more of the model of I set up, I tell COPS what I want, and he talks to the OpenStack APIs to create that for me. Or kubeadm and Bootcube, which is I set up the VMs myself, and I just tell it, you know, these are the nodes you have to talk to and join the Kubernetes network. So the two, you have to, as a customer, as a user, you have to decide which direction you want to use.
I think that what you're describing makes a really good case for better documentation, more clear documentation for users, because it's an accurate, fair point that you're making. Like for me personally, I want to do all that other stuff myself, right? So I don't want a tool doing that. I kind of like these small granular pieces of control that I can stitch together myself and deploy as a stack. Some people want everything done for them using a tool like COPS, which is great. I personally never say that one is better than the other. You just have to figure out which option you want. And to say which is easiest, well, that's really tough because, you know, are you coming from the OpenStack world? You know, do you want that granular control, et cetera? So that's always a loaded question. It always goes into several different things. That's why I said in the beginning, it's opinionated, but I think we could be a little bit more clear in documentation in Kubernetes to, you know, say it provides these things. You know, if you use this tool, then you need to provide these things yourself, because that's a fair point.
What documentation do we need to edit to at least add that?
Well, I don't know whether it's Kubernetes specific, because, you know, if coming from the Kubernetes side, you want to be you don't want to show favoritism to one particular tool or another.
Sure.
You just want to give a landscape view kind of.
But at least you need to make that decision. Do you do it yourself or you let the tool do it?
Exactly. I think somewhat of a matrix would be good. That could say, okay, these tools provide these things, kind of like, do you want a la carte, that sort of thing. I think that would be pretty helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks.
Or do you have more?
Yeah, I have a ton. That points me in the right direction. I appreciate it.
Matt, we linked in chat the Ivor and I both tried to do apparently a race to link the Cube Spray, which is the new name or the new / old name of the COPS tool we mentioned.
It's not COPS, it's X cargo, not COPS. COPS is for.
Oh, that's right. Well, it's called you're right. Sorry, Cube Spray now. So, anyways, that's another great tool that was mentioned.
Yeah, actually, Cube Spray is simply a set of Ansible playbooks and.
Is that the cargo stuff? Is that got renamed to Cube Spray? It kind of was
right.
Cube Spray at one point, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Just checking.
Yeah.
Sorry, I misspoke earlier with COPS. That's for AWS only. I meant Cube, one of the other K names.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only reason why I threw a little bit of pause at COPS because I wasn't aware of the OpenStack piece, but it's hard to keep up anymore. Really.
Yeah, exactly. I use Terraform, so that's what I said.
I do the same thing because then you got little buckets, right? So Terraform and then I personally use I've been using Bootkube lately because I like teaching people Kubernetes. It's kind of easy to teach people Kubernetes if you got all the manifest, the rendered manifest from Bootkube. So
absolutely,
it's opinion. It's opinion. It doesn't really matter.
I can't go wrong with that. I'm from CoreOS too. So
there you go. Yes.
So I guess the clear consensus is we should be telling people to use Kubernetes the hard way and just add the OpenStack provider there. Is that what I'm hearing?
Ooh.
He jokes.
Not sure. Yeah. For getting started and learn something new, but not for like real production environments. If we have people who are using Terraform to provision their OpenStack and to provision their Kubernetes clusters on top of OpenStack, I also had several requests and heard some thoughts from other people who are actually consuming Terraform for that way. So probably we may have some volunteers to populate documentation section with this guide. So probably Brandon or Louis. If you'll have some time and desire, it would be great to also see Terraform instruction in Kubernetes.io. Yeah. So Matt, is it clear for you now what's happening with installation of Kubernetes on top of OpenStack in the community world?
Yeah. I have to dive in and do some experimentation, playing around. But you definitely led me in the right direction. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great.
Good luck and Godspeed.
Yeah. Anything else to discuss today? We don't have any other items in the agenda, so any other questions or items to discuss?
Yeah, I actually, the follow-up from the last meeting, I apologize I haven't gotten the document out. I was on vacation last week. So, but for speaking of wonderful conversations, authentication authorization for against Keystone, I'm putting out a document. I will put it both in the OpenStack, the SIG OpenStack and SIG auth channels, and also in the meeting notes, the comment to the conversation from last week. I'd really appreciate comments, thoughts, especially from users that are looking to authenticate and authorize Kubernetes against Keystone, to see what their use cases or what your all use cases and thoughts are, whether it's you directly or your clients, so we can start coming up with something within the community that might work for half or something. Would be a good goal, I think. Yeah, so, and I'm also tracking in the document, I have all of the sort of previous work or prior work stuff that, so we can start kind of collecting. So definitely, if you have any input, feel free to edit the document as I get it out. I hope to get that done today.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for joining us today, and I will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Yep. Right.